Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
I was bullish on them too, and I didn't know if it was just like my Eagles fandom, kind of taking over, or like how much of it was like the rational me versus the fan me in me. And I mean, like, obviously now Super Bowl weekend, I'm like completely overtaken by like the fandom, so like I will not be rational.
The Skip and Josh podcast is on now.
Hello.
Skippy.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Happy day after the Super Bowl.
Yes, same to you. I didn't know that was a thing, but same to you.
Well, I say the same thing every year. I think I've said it for 10 years. You mentioned I mentioned it to you, and then you mentioned to me that there should be this government position in the United States called the sports czar, who should make decisions about everything related to professional sports. So the first thing that the sports czar should be doing is making the day after the Super Bowl a holiday.
That would be cool.
Because it doesn't make sense to have work and school for everybody the day after. Everyone's tired.
Or they could be smart and they could put the Super Bowl and the NCAA final and the NCAA football championship on a Saturday.
Yeah.
They could do that.
The NCAA final I hate it that it's on a Monday.
They never play on Monday. All season long, they don't play on Mondays. And then during the tournament, they play Thursday, Monday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All of a sudden, the final's on a Monday. Same thing with football. They don't play college football on Mondays during the season.
No, but then the big game, they want the ratings. They put it on at night, prime time.
Unbelievable.
So stupid. You're right.
Like the World Series and the Stanley Cup is different because it's best of 7. Same thing with the NBA Finals. Or is it final? Yeah. I don't even know anymore. So those are 7-game series, so you can't have them on only one day. But the ones that are one day should be on Saturdays.
Yeah. So, as you can hear, I lost my voice.
Is that from the game?
Yeah, it's from the game. I know I have a whole bunch of Super Bowl stuff. I have a whole list of things to talk about to recap the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so do you. But you I think you had some non-Super Bowl stuff. And you said you want to just get them out of the way.
Yeah, because I made some mistakes 2 episodes ago. I need to correct myself. I'm surprised no one emailed. Or maybe they did.
Okay, what was that?
Well, first of all, when we were talking about the Duke loss to Virginia, I said that Virginia was number 1. In fact, they were number 2 in the country, not number 1.
Oh, well. That depends which poll you look at.
True. And the other thing I said was that I think Duke had scored, 65 points that game. And I think I said something like, that's the most points Virginia's given up this season. In fact, they've given up more points than that, I think 3 times.
Okay. Well, you're on the right track, at least.
Yeah, I am. Then one other thing I want to get off my chest. Even though when we recorded our last episode, it was after the NHL All-Star game.
Right, it was, yeah.
I had not seen the entire game because it was actually 3 games.
I didn't watch any of it.
Well, it's 3 games. 2 divisions play each other, then 2 divisions play each other, then the 2 winners play each other.
Never came on my TV.
I missed the first one.
Okay.
And the first one was the Pacific Division. And then I saw their uniforms. They were all white with white pants and white gloves. And it would look disgusting. That should never happen in a hockey game.
No, that's stupid, no?
Did you see the highlights?
No, I didn't watch 1 second of the NHL All-Star game. I didn't watch 1 second of the NHL skills competition.
Skills competition was actually good.
It's as if it didn't happen to me. I still, to me, I don't know what happened. I mean, I know Connor McDavid was the fastest skater and no one wanted to skate against him. That's all I know.
But they were wearing white pants, the Pacific Division, white pants and white gloves. It looked terrible.
I saw Ovechkin had the hardest shot.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, but that's because Weber wasn't there, I guess, right?
Is he still injured?
Oh, yeah.
And does Ales Hemsky still have 0 points this season?
Mm-hmm. He hasn't played since the 5th game of the year.
That's fantastic.
I told you he wouldn't play.
Yeah, I told you the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the Kings aren't making the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's go to football.
That's it.
Enough of this.
We're ready for
nonsense.
football.
Enough of this nonsense.
Oh, I'm so excited. So, where do you want to start? It was wild time in my house.
In the place where I was watching the game,
Mm-hmm.
everyone except for maybe one other person was more interested in the halftime show than the game or the commercials.
Oh boy, I like those parties.
Same thing happened last year.
Rolling my eyes. Yeah.
Same thing happened last year. So
Yeah.
I was rooting for your Eagles only because I hate the Patriots.
Well, I think most viewers were in the same situation as you, in that like everybody hates the Patriots, so everybody was just rooting for the Eagles, right?
I guess. I know some people who actually wanted the Patriots to win. I don't understand why.
Yeah. The only people that were rooting for that were not rooting for the Eagles that weren't Patriots fans were like Cowboys fans or Giants fans, like the NFC East rivals. They still hate the Eagles so much that they couldn't root for them, but as I talked to like a Giants fan and I talked to a Cowboys fan and they're like, no, I'm rooting for the Patriots. I'm not rooting for the Eagles. Like there's no way, So the hate for the Eagles still, is in that divisional rivals still run deep,
That's fine, but I was very I was very anti Patriots during the game. Like anytime the Eagles did something good, I would like scream, and anytime the Patriots did something good, I would scream also. And I knew throughout the game that even though the Eagles had the lead almost the entire game, I knew this lead isn't safe. This lead isn't safe. They need to score more points because the Eagles could not tackle if their lives depended on it.
And you texted me that during the game. And normally, like, okay, we're gonna get into like the I'm gonna say it. Normally, we're gonna get into a little bit of the X's and O's now already, but before we get into the X's and O's, just let me tell you where I was. It was
You were home.
I was home. It was Matthew and 5 of his friends, right? So this was a different experience for me in that normally I'm at a bigger party with a whole bunch of people. And like you said, some people are watching the game. Some people are not watching the game. The time when the most people are watching the TV is during the halftime show. That's when all the wives come, right? Like to watch and everybody. So this was a good experience because all those 6 teenagers were interested in the game and they were watching the game, every single play. So 5 out of the 6 were cheering for the Eagles only because they were supporting Matthew, and one kid is a Patriots fan. He came with his Brady jersey and everything.
You shouldn't have let him in.
Yeah, when he rang the bell, I'm like, am I allowed to let you in?
No, you're not.
Yeah. So it was interesting between Matthew and this kid. They were going back and forth. It was pretty funny during the game, as the plays were happening. They were, some good-natured taunting of each other. But it was great to watch with people who were really watching, and actually I didn't watch the halftime show at all. I put the TV on mute and it was on the TV and I don't know what happened. I guess Justin Timberlake sang some songs.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah. I mean, everyone says it was so good. I read a lot of positive reviews about it, but like, honestly, who cares, right?
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah. So you texted me saying the Eagles can't tackle.
They couldn't tackle. What was going on?
Normally, when teams come out like the Patriots did and they were throwing a lot of short stuff.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It was a lot of short stuff. Normally, as an Eagles fan, I'm like, bring it on. Because you can't win the game that way. Because precisely, you can't sustain that for the whole game to get a drive. And the Eagles tackle too well that those plays don't become effective. But for some reason, like you said, they couldn't tackle. There was a lot of missed tackles and a lot of extra plays,
It was the first Eagles game I've seen all season, so I didn't know, is this normal? Did they not tackle during the regular season? Because it looks like they're just letting them walk right down the field.
It was a completely different defensive strategy than any other Eagles game I've watched the whole year.
Well, hold on. There was no defensive strategy. They just let them do what they wanted.
Well, the defense normally...
And both teams, by the way, had no defense.
No, that's it. Normally, the Eagles are very, very aggressive on the blitz. They come with blitzes like crazy. But they didn't. I don't think they blitzed once. They just rushed their 4 guys. And Neil talked about it in the Super Bowl preview. that's going to be the key to the game, because if they blitz, Brady's going to recognize it and he's going to pick them apart. So they didn't want to do that. So they wanted to get pressure with 4, but they couldn't get any pressure with 4. The four guys rushing couldn't get any pressure. So Brady was picking them apart like crazy, right? He had so much time. There was so many plays where you saw like Chris Hogan or Amendola. They were like wide open downfield, like huge gains. And I'm like, why is it? People in my house were like, why is he so open? The thing is, the corners are not that good. They can't cover you and run around the field. And Brady recognizes like he's too good, right? So when he has time, you're finished, right? You're finished. And like you said, I never felt that the lead was safe, because you always felt that he was going to come back, especially from the start of the third quarter. Every time the Patriots had the ball in the second half, it was like the defense wasn't there.
Well, they scored on the first drive.
I know, but it was the way they scored on the first drive. It
Easily.
was like bing, 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 touchdown. You know, like it was like the defense was like practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then as the game went on, like I mean, we don't have to recap play by play of everything that happened.
There's a couple of plays I want to go over that annoyed me.
I felt like if the Patriots could have got one defensive stop, the Eagles were finished. Because the Patriots kept coming down and scoring so easily, and then the Eagles had to answer back, right? They had to answer back, and they kept doing it, right? They kept answering back, and then if the Patriots could have got one defensive stop, I don't know if the Eagles would have kept up. And then the Eagles are the ones that got that with 2 minutes left. You figure Brady's going to go down the field and score, right? And then it's game over, but they came up. The Eagles, I mean, it was too much to ask of the Patriots to not have any turnovers the whole game. Like the Eagles their defense is too opportunistic. They it's not like them to not get a big defensive play. Every game this year they get a big defensive play. That's why they were so good. And then they got it, and then the Patriots fan in my house was very quiet after that fumble.
Good.
Yeah.
So if you fast forward to when there's like 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game, and the Patriots get the ball back.
Yeah.
Not only did I know they were going to go downfield and tie up the game.
Yeah.
Which they didn't, but I thought they would. And then also, I'm like, oh, there's enough time. The Eagles are going to get the ball back also. So that's fine. So I wasn't so worried about that. Then, of course, the strip sack fumble, whatever, happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at that point, actually, they were only up 5, not 8. My mistake. So they would have won. They would have taken the lead. Anyway, then Philly gets the field goal. Then they're up by 8, and then New England gets the ball again with like 50 something seconds left, which, by the way, is an eternity.
Yeah, but you needed to get the touchdown and the 2-point.
Yes,
conversion.
but still an eternity.
Yeah.
So first down, he throws incomplete. Second down, he throws incomplete. Third down, he throws incomplete.
All of a sudden, it's 4th, and they're on their own 10.
Right. So here's what bothered me. 4th and 10, on their own 10, and you see a shot of Doug Peterson. He has his arms up in jubilation. He's like happy as if the game is over. I'm like, are you an idiot? Are you celebrating at 4th and 10? They still have the ball and there's still 20 seconds left and you're celebrating? Are you drunk?
I think you're taking that out of context. I think he was happy that from the previous defensive play. I don't think it was like celebrating the win. I don't think that's it at all.
He had his arms up in the air and he should have just shut his mouth and not done a thing, because
you're completely wrong, by the way. You're completely wrong. You're the only person in the world that's ripping Doug Peterson.
Not for his coaching. I'm not ripping him for his coaching. I'm ripping him for that's like when there's 5 minutes left in a 1-goal hockey game and they start playing Valdera at the Bell Center.
Yeah.
And then the Canadians blow the lead and lose the game.
Okay, listen, I recorded the game. I'm going to go watch that part back.
He had his arms up. Yes, he was happy about the defensive play or whatever it was. Yeah. But you should know that the game's not over until the game is over. And then the very next 3 plays, they got 3 first downs in a row and they were at the 50-yard line and they had enough time and they were close enough to do a Hail Mary.
I never felt after the 4th down there, when they got the first down, whatever. But then after those plays, I never felt that the Patriots were going to score because all they did was throw like 5 yards and get out of bounds, 5 yards and get out of bounds.
No, but they were throwing 10-yard passes. They were getting first downs.
All they did was put themselves in a position to be able for Brady to throw 50 yards.
Exactly, which they did.
That's
and
not good enough.
But by the way, Gronk almost caught that Hail Mary.
I know Gronk almost caught it, but like, how often do Hail Marys get caught? It's called a Hail Mary for a reason because you're saying a prayer.
I know, but the point is, it should never have even gotten to that point. It was 4th and 10 at their own 10.
Well, that's why he's Tom Brady, because that's why they're the Patriots. They like, it's not like it's so easy to stop them.
They have 9 lives. This team. They have.
Yeah, they ran out.
Right? I was nervous. I was very nervous on that Hail Mary.
Okay, that's cool.
I was very nervous, and I was very upset that Doug Peterson was celebrating or had his arms up in the air when the game wasn't over yet. It bothered me.
I have to look back at that because I think you're probably taking it out of context. Who know? I got to see that again. I'm not sure.
Go watch it.
I will.
Go watch it. It bothered me.
So I have a whole bunch of notes. Way too many.
So go.
Like, I don't even know where to start. But maybe we'll start with listener mail.
We're the only show presently in production that cares enough about you, the North American home viewer, to answer our viewer mail on the air.
We got a huge long email from Neil.
Yes, we did.
And he wanted to kind of make a few points about what we talked about in the preview of like what we got right and kind of what we got wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't read the email because it's way too long.
Yeah.
So first thing he wrote is, congratulations, Skip. It's so great to have like a bonding with your son over your sports team. He says it's going to be a great moment like that Matthew's probably never going to forget. And I agree with that. I think it's amazing. I remember when I was a kid and my team won the Super Bowl and how much it meant to me, at the time, so. He said that you had asked me if the Eagles are up by 10 in the fourth quarter, how would I feel? Right? Remember you asked me
Yes,
that?
I do.
And I said I would feel good, and I kind of did, but what Neil said that I really got right, and which is true, is that I felt that Doug Peterson wasn't going to be conservative, and that's exactly why they were able to sustain it, because he never tried to just run out the clock. He kept saying, you could see the motivation on the Eagles offense was, we have to keep scoring. Every time we have the ball, we have to keep scoring.
Well, they had to because they couldn't trust the defense.
And, the fact that they did that crazy play on 4th and goal, before the half, where they threw it to Foles.
That was great.
I mean, it's great, but like, it's so typical, honestly, like the way the media treats everything in like, oh, Doug Peterson's a genius, if they don't score on that play, he could probably get fired.
I don't think he would have got fired, but
not fired, but like, how he would be getting ripped, like 4th and goal from the 2, and then when you do this trick play, like just like the Seahawks got roasted for not handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, like why do something so complicated, and like if it goes wrong, he gets all the criticism, and if it goes right, he gets all the praise. So he gets all the praise, right?
On the other side, it bothers me a lot when it's 4th and 1 or whatever it is, at whatever goal line or whatever place on the field, and teams run a play right up the middle. Yeah. Like, if
they know the other team's waiting for it.
Exactly. And that's where all the other defenders are. And you're running right up the middle, and sometimes you get stopped. Why not make a play like what they did, throw to the corner where nobody is?
Yeah, I know.
Now maybe don't throw to
the
other
play that makes me the other play that makes me sick when they get to the goal line, so they throw that fade, to like the tall receiver in the corner. Like, that doesn't work either.
I don't mind that, actually. I prefer that. I prefer that to a run up the middle.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. So getting back to Neil's email, he's a Patriots fan, so he's saying he doesn't take it so hard because they've got so many championships already. He really is kind of criticizing why Malcolm Butler was benched.
No one knows.
No one knows, and he thinks it's like Belichick being Belichick, and he's kind of outdoing himself, like being so stubborn, right? This is exactly what Neil wrote. Belichick is a great coach, but he allows his ridiculously large ego to get in the way sometimes, and yesterday was one of those days. Malcolm Butler had a bad year, and it's not surprising, like he's saying, like, Butler was still their starter. He played. He's like I saw all the stats. Right. He started like he was on 97% of the defensive plays all year. Right. So all of a sudden in the last game of the year, you mentioned.
Well, I heard that he broke a team rule like a week earlier.
He may have, but then like it's just if he broke a team rule, that's one thing. I guess it's something that they have to live with. But Eric Rowe on Alshon Jeffrey most of the game, that was a bad matchup. And especially after, like, clearly they could have used Malcolm Butler, maybe in the second half you say, okay, it's not working, let's put him in, like let's change, but he was very stubborn and he didn't change it up. The catch, Neil thinks that both of those plays were touchdowns, the ones that were reviewed. I agree, but the fact that I'm texting you and you're texting me and you're like, they could overturn this, and I'm like, I know. But this is not the way to watch a game. This is not a way to be a fan. This is madness. When a touchdown is scored and you're like, okay, let's wait for the ref to tell us if it's good or not.
Well, they do review every scoring play now anyway. So whether it's
like that they do that, but like what Neil wrote is the problem with some of the stuff is that the announcers on TV were so bad that they feed into this business. They don't actually know the rules themselves. So when they're looking at it, they're like, oh, maybe. But the thing is, if they actually knew the rules and they explained it, it would be more clear to the viewers.
But the league itself has said that they need to fix the rule.
I know. They asked Roger Goodell this week, and I think they realize it is a problem.
Now,
right?
The thing is, in my opinion, this is where I differ from Neil, is that second one, the Zach Ertz TD, was exactly like that Pittsburgh TD.
Not exactly.
Against New England, where they didn't call it a TD.
It was very, very similar. I had a Steelers fan in our house, Matthew's friend Jake, who's a huge Steelers fan.
Yeah.
That was the play involving the tight end on the Steelers, Jesse James, the Cowboy, Jesse James. And he was saying it's the same thing. And you know what? It's very similar. But, look, we look at it in super slow-mo with, like, HD. You could see every bobble. You see every step. And it's very close. But the difference in the play is that I think in the Super Bowl one, Ertz made a more clear, not 100% clear, but more clear football move. Like you say, like he made it more clear that he was a runner, that he had established the catch and he was a runner. Whereas the other one, it wasn't 100% sure, I guess. Although it's, like you said, it's very similar.
I think both of those are touchdowns, by the way, the Steeler one and the Eagle one.
This goes back to the original catch that started all this business, was the Dez Bryant against the Packers.
Yes.
I watched that replay because someone put a side by side on YouTube of the two plays. And if that's no catch, then they all should be no catch. Like that one's a catch. The nuances and the difference between all those plays are so small. Honestly, they're so small, and only because everybody has huge TVs with Ultra HD and the technology for us to see everything. I listen to. I'm a big fan of soccer, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the English Premier League, they're gonna start having what they're calling VAR. It's the video assisted review. It hasn't started yet, but they tried it in a few games, and the fans don't like it because it slows everything down. They have to go look at everything. Like they're not used to the replays like we are now in our sports, right? Mm-hmm. They're in the infancy. They're like in the baby steps, right? Yeah. Right now in their sport. But the guy, I read an article about it, and he was like, just because we can see everything doesn't mean we should see everything. It's still a referee, and you need to use the replay for specific things, not for looking at every detail of every play, and that's what they're doing with these catches.
Well, because it was a scoring play, so
I know, but like. Maybe they can't look at the bobbles and the different things like that. Like maybe the replays have to be much more simple. It's like inbounds, out of bounds, cross the line, didn't cross the line. I don't know. I think they're bamboozling everybody with like so much details about what's what.
So my opinion on what the rule should be, if you go back not to the Zach Ertz play, but I forget the guy's name. It wasn't Alshon Jeffrey. It was
Corey Clement.
Right. So that one where he catches the ball. Mm-hmm. He's already got one foot in. Then he puts the second foot in. Mm-hmm. Then the third step is where he's out of bounds.
Touches the line. Yeah.
Right. But that was the third step.
But maybe not. But it depends when he actually caught the ball.
See, but
Because-
here's what the rule should be. He had the ball. He had 1 foot in already. Then his second foot touches. Now, you freeze that frame. At
That's a
that
catch.
very moment, he has the ball in his hands and he's in the end zone.
Right.
That's a touchdown. Anything that happens after that moment doesn't matter because that's a touchdown. I don't care if he bobbles it or he drops it because he has a touchdown.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I like your take on that because it's like the same thing. Like you said it when that play happened with the Jesse James play on the Steelers. You said it like it crosses the line, right?
Yes.
Once the ball crosses the line, like you freeze frame it there. That's it. It's a touchdown.
Whatever
regardless of
happens
what
after doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
in hockey, I know it's different and the rules are different, but if the puck goes in the net and
Mm-hmm.
then it bounces out after, it doesn't matter because it was in the net.
That's a good one.
Once it's
It
in the
was
net,
in
the
the net.
play's over, the whistle blows, the clock
Right.
stops, it's a goal.
Yeah, I don't know. You're 100% right. They're looking past what they should, right? Touchdown. Okay, anything that happens after, who cares?
Right, exactly.
Like what does it matter? This is perfect. Yeah, we need to like get that to Roger Goodell. So I'm glad you mentioned Corey Clement. Neil brought him up as his last point. Well, first of all, Neil feels that they were both catches on those replays.
Yeah.
This is what he wrote in his email to us. And actually, Neil mentioned Corey Clement on his preview, saying he thought he was going to have a big game, and he did. And he actually, another friend of the show, Paul Gorelick, who we went to Cooperstown with, right? A good friend of Neil's. Apparently he listened to the show, the Super Bowl podcast with Neil, and he put this is what Neil says. Don't want to get Paul in trouble. Our friend Paul Gorelick listened to the pod and said he wanted to make a fairly big bet on a prop during the game. And after listening to me, he felt like Clement over 13.5 yards receiving was a really safe bet. I told him that I love the bet. And if I did sports betting, I would throw half my bankroll on that one. Neil says he put down a pretty decent sum and won after 5 minutes into the game. So good for you, Paul.
By the way, you recall that I thought LeGarrette Blount would have a big game, and he actually had it. He had a good
did.
game.
A lot of it was, I didn't realize, I think Jay Ajayi hurt his ankle during the game. So Blount got a little bit more carries than he should have, but still he made the most of his opportunities. He had some huge runs.
He got a TD, I think, and he had the most
he did.
rushing yards of anyone on the Eagles.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Neil's email. I'm happy that we went through his feedback and we were able to kind of riff off of his points because a lot of the stuff that he wrote is stuff that I wanted to talk about anyways. So I think like I mostly went through my list. Like we talked about, like I talked about the key was the pass rush, right? And then they were able to finally when they got a little bit of pressure on him, that's when the tide turned, right? They forced that fumble. Otherwise, Brady was just going to pick them apart, So, but this is what I want to tell you. If I would tell you that Brady would throw for over 500 yards and the Patriots would not punt once during the game, how is it possible that the Patriots don't win?
Well, it's because it was a shootout and there was no defense in this game.
But it's just crazy, right? No punts, 500 yards passing, and they still can't win. Like, it's nuts.
It's pretty nuts.
It is deceiving because you say they had no turnovers, but it's not true. They only had one turnover.
Each team had one.
It's a bit dishonest to say they only had one. It's a semantics a bit because they had a missed field goal.
Okay.
Patriots did.
Okay.
So that's like a turnover.
Okay, so
That's
they
like a
each
turnover
so they
on
had two
downs.
then.
And they went for it on fourth down once and they didn't get it.
Oh, so then they had three.
So that's like another turnover. It doesn't count as a turnover.
Oh, to me it does.
But it's a play where they didn't score. They went down the field and they got no points, and the Eagles got
Right.
the
So
ball back.
that's a turnover.
So that's why they were able to not punt, right? Because obviously, if you just go for it on fourth down every time you keep missing, you could say I didn't have any punts. But the Eagles only punted once, right?
I don't
So-
even remember, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a terrible punter, Donnie Jones. Every time he punts, I'm scared it's going to get blocked. He holds the ball for so long. I can't. He makes me so nervous when I watch him punt. I was happy he only got to punt one time. And I don't know what happened with the kickers. Nobody could kick an extra point.
Oh my God, I was freaking out. How do you miss
don't know.
those?
I don't like. Well, first of all, Elliott on the Eagles, he missed an extra point against the Falcons 2 games ago. So when he missed the one when he missed an extra point in the Super Bowl, I wasn't surprised. But I still had a lot of faith in him. He's like a plucky little guy, you know. I think he's really resilient. Like, I think when the pressure's on, he was good, and he hit the field goals when he needed to later on.
I was freaking out in that first quarter when he missed that extra point. I'm freaking out, and everyone's looking at me. What are you worried about? I'm like, you don't understand. One point could decide this game. That could come back to haunt the Eagles.
And then the Eagles went for 2 later in the second quarter
and didn't get it.
Because, you know, he had missed the extra point. They were trying to make up for it.
At that point, I agreed with going for 2 for sure.
No, I agree with going for 2, but when they don't get it, now it's like they missed another extra point.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
So, anyways, look, I'm glad that stuff didn't come back to haunt them, but suffice it to say, you know, like it was weird.
But worse
when
than
Gostkowski.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Missed the extra point.
Worse than missing the extra point was Gostkowski missed the field goal. That was even worse.
The thing is, he missed the extra point. You saw what it was going to happen because it was a bad snap.
That wasn't his fault.
The holder put it down. The whole timing was messed up, and he just missed it. You're like, okay, whatever, that could happen. But like the extra point, he just kicked it to the side. He just shanked it.
It was terrible. I was
thrilled. When they had that bad hold, and they showed the replay. I was like, laces out, laces out. You ever see Ace Ventura: Pet Detective?
No.
It was all that Dan Marino's fault. Everyone knows that. If he had held the ball laces out like you're supposed to, Ray would never have missed that kick. Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Would you like a cookie, son?
What do you know? They're little footballs.
Laces out.
And actually, one of Matthew's friends got the joke, so I thought that was good. Because you never know. I make these jokes from the 1980s and 90s. These kids don't know what that is.
I'm surprised that he did.
You don't even know, so.
Well, I didn't watch that movie, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like sort of everything I wanted to touch on. I had a couple of small points.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why was everyone making such a big deal that Joel Embiid was going to the game? Like, why is that a big deal?
Oh, I don't know. I guess he's a Philly guy, but there was a lot of celebrities at the game and other athletes.
No, but I mean, they apparently like it was a big deal. Like the day before the game, they interviewed Joel Embiid. So you're going to the Super Bowl? Yeah, I'm going as a fan. Whatever. Like
he's been supporting the Eagles all year, but I don't think it should be a big deal. There was tons of guys like Bradley Cooper, you know, the actor from
I saw him.
He was sitting with Jeffrey Lurie. Like, what the hell? You know? I mean,
I saw.
So, yeah, I mean, and then, of course, like, look, you're not on social media, and I do follow her, but, you know, Jeannie Bouchard was on a date with that dude.
Oh, how'd that go?
Oh, my. They looked like they had an amazing weekend. They were at all the NFL Canada invited them. They were at all, like, the Super Bowl festivities, you know, like the pre-parties the day before, the 2 days before, the day before, the day of the game. They were at the game. I mean, they were cheering for the Patriots, but that's another story. And they looked like they had a super time. And, like, you know, she's ridiculously good looking. Like it's not normal, you know? You see these pictures of her at the game, she's all dolled up and everything, and at this gala the night before in this fancy dress. Like, this guy is like the luckiest guy in the world, but at the same time, like, he doesn't really know her, you know, and I don't know how awkward it is. Well, this is like
their third date now, so like
I don't know how awkward it is between them, you know, like when they're together, but whatever. I mean, lucky guy. One more thing about the game. I texted you about Chris Collinsworth.
Yes, you did.
That was one of the worst. It was like a historically bad day for an announcer in a Super Bowl. It was awful. It was actually pathetic. I was embarrassed for NBC. And actually, another guy that I'm friends with on Facebook who's a Patriots fan, wrote on Facebook during the game. He's like, I can't believe how much Collinsworth is in the tank for the Patriots. Like, he was so obviously cheering for the Patriots. It wasn't even funny. You know, like it was so obvious to him. I noticed it a little bit, but I was like, okay. And then yesterday I saw there's a petition on, you know, one of these petition websites. It already has 10,000 signatures that Collinsworth should never do an Eagles game again.
An Eagles game or a Patriots game?
An Eagles game, because he's too much against the Eagles.
I see. I didn't notice it because like I couldn't hear everything he was saying. Yeah. I didn't notice any of that. But
I wrote down a few things because I always say how much I hate the announcers, and then I never remember exactly what they say that bothered me.
Okay, so tell me.
He said something like, you know, the Eagles, they were underdogs all season. They got this underdog mentality. Now, I know they had this underdog mentality with the dog masks, you know, and the last, you know, they were home underdogs, the 2 playoff games. They were underdogs in the Super Bowl. Got it. Understood. they're underdogs in the playoffs. But to say they were underdogs the whole season is completely false. They were the number 1 seed in the conference. They were in first place in the conference the entire year. They scored 30 points almost every game. So, they were not in any close games all year. Most of the games they had were blowouts in their favor. So to say they were underdogs all year is like kind of a weird statement. I just didn't care for that.
They were underdogs in the playoffs, but
Yes.
not during the regular season. Maybe the first 3 weeks of the season when you didn't know how good they were yet.
Yeah. Now, Neil pointed out they don't know the rules. When they were reviewing the replays, Collinsworth, he's just like, he has these weird reactions. He's like, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and you see this, and he's just pointing out like nonsense. But like, do your homework. That was my biggest thing about him, is like, do your homework. What have you been doing all for 2 weeks? If you're a professional announcer, this is your job. Me and you wake up at 7:30 in the morning to record a podcast, but I'm going to go to work and you're going to go to work. We have other things to do. That's why we make mistakes. We don't research stuff. We just talk, right? But this is his job. He should know things, like do have a bit of professional pride. I just thought there was so many things he said where I'm like, did he even watch? Now, the other thing he said, he pointed out that Malcolm Jenkins was in man-to-man coverage with someone. And I'm like, again, I was like, what have you been doing? Have you been looking at have you watched any Eagles games all year? Have you seen what happens? I said it in our Super Bowl preview. Jenkins lines up all over the field. Jenkins plays safety. He plays corner. He plays linebacker. He lines up as a defensive end. Like, he's all over the field. He's been playing corner man-to-man against every single game this year. He's been playing guys man-to-man. Every single game. So all you have to do is watch one other Eagles game, and then you would say, oh yeah, Jenkins is pretty good in coverage. They don't mind putting him up against whoever. And like, I just found like they were clearly in the tank for the Pats, and I just found they didn't put any effort into it. And I don't know if I'm going to post it on our website. I like Al Michaels, and I don't know what happened, but the last play of the game, when they threw that Hail Mary, and the Eagles win the game, Al Michaels' reaction is like, it was like listening to the road feed on a radio broadcast. He was there. There was no emotion. There was no Eagles win the Super Bowl. There was no it was so like ho hum. Okay, they won the game.
Brady under pressure, escapes the sack, launching one for the end zone. It's a jump ball and it's incomplete. And Gronk was there, and time runs out.
This is the end of the game.
And for the Philadelphia Eagles, the long drought is over. Finally. Last championship, 1960, pre-Super Bowl era. And the Philly fans, the dream has finally come true. Lombardi Trophy going to Philadelphia.
I think because, first of all, I wasn't even sure the game was over because I didn't know if there was time left on the clock, if there was time left for another play, or if they were going to call a penalty and have to redo the play. Yeah. So I think a lot of people weren't sure if the game was even over.
I agree with that. And that's why I'll give Al Michaels the benefit of the doubt on that play. But I just I'm sure he would love to take it back because it's the most ho-hum first Super Bowl in franchise history. They win the Super Bowl and he has hardly any reaction. It was just the weirdest thing, to listen to it back, because it's the play is all over. You see the clips on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, and it's okay, he doesn't seem excited at all, So that's a bit weird. So that's my rant on the announcers. I didn't care for the announcers.
NBC could have used Mike Pereira when there were those challenges, because Mike Pereira...
But isn't Pereira a Fox guy?
Yes, he is a Fox guy. I'm not saying they could have. They should have. I mean, obviously, he's contracted to Fox, so he can't come on NBC. But Mike Pereira knows his stuff because he used to be the head of officiating in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, one of the other networks, I guess CBS, had their own Mike Pereira guy. I forget his name.
Yes, but he's not as good as Mike Pereira.
He's not good at all. He knows the rules, but he wasn't good on TV. And NBC, I guess they didn't do that, but they should have, right?
Yeah, I guess they only have one game a week, so they figure it's not worth having a guy for their one game a week.
But for the Super Bowl?
They should have had somebody.
They usually break out all kinds of stuff in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Whenever it's a Super Bowl, you watch the games all year and you're used to certain camera angles. And then usually in the Super Bowl, they break out some kind of RoboCam.
If
you
they
never
have
seen
like
before,
15
which
new
they
angles.
didn't do this year, I don't think. But like, you know, it's not like they're not afraid to like try new stuff in the Super
By the
Bowl.
way, I hardly saw, and I might not have even seen at all, that angle, you know, from behind the QB.
Very few times. I didn't see
I don't know. I like that angle. I don't know why they don't use it more.
Yeah, I like it too. I like we talked about it when it was on, or when they first used it. It's like it really shows you when you want to see like the running backs, the holes that they have to run in. It's fantastic. Or the lanes for the throws from the quarterback. You see a totally different perspective. You know.
I would have liked to have seen more of that.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was what commercials did you like? I only liked one.
I like the Tide commercials.
You did.
I love the Tide
This is the
commercials.
Tide ad.
All of them. There were a bunch of them.
This is the Tide.
Because I wasn't
I
sure.
thought they were
Like,
so
first of all, I
annoying.
thought one was Old Spice. You know. 'cause
Well,
they-
that's what they're making fun of.
And then I
right?
thought
Yeah.
one was for like a Gillette or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Well, good for them. I mean, they're in the press right now for all the wrong reasons, with little kids eating their pods.
well, that's not their fault.
Well, no, but I mean, they didn't. I'm just saying, like, but their brand is like being negatively affected by all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they
need-
decided to invest
They
in
need
some
to put
funny
the Tide
commercials that
Pods
people
on the
don't know.
top shelf in the grocery store so kids can't reach. That's what they need to do.
My favorite commercial, the only one I really liked, was Eli Manning and Odell Beckham doing the dirty
Oh,
dancing.
I like that. I don't know what the commercial was for, but I liked it.
It was for the NFL.
Which was the weirdest thing. Like, why does the
Yeah.
NFL have a commercial for the NFL during
I
the
didn't
NFL
know
game?
Also, like, I was like, what is this for? But then at the end, you see it. But it was so well done. Honestly, Eli Manning, oh my God. What a bad dancer. Oh, but it was so good. It
Actually,
was so
he
funny.
was better than I would be.
No, I think he's better. He's the same as what I would be. Yeah. But I just thought it was great. You know, honestly, like, so good, so funny. And that was really the only commercial that I liked. So
Okay.
that's my whole list. Like, you went through everything.
Good.
Other than Jeff Fisher's an idiot.
Who?
Jeff Fisher.
Why?
Well, I was thinking about it. I was like,
He wasn't even
had
involved in this game.
Jared Goff, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles all couldn't complete a pass when Jeff Fisher was their coach. And now look at all three of those guys, right? I was thinking about it. I was like, man, you know, Nick Foles, he couldn't do anything when he went to the Rams. Then they replaced him with Keenum, who also sucked. And then they drafted Goff, who also sucked. Now all three of those guys are great. You know, although Keenum, I don't know if he's going to keep it up, and we'll see what happens with Foles. But look, no matter what happens with Nick Foles the rest of his career, he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. By the way,
Right?
so you know Tom Brady won the MVP on Saturday night.
Oh, of the league, yeah,
yes,
sure.
Yes. And then since 2000, the guy who has won the MVP has
saw
not
that.
won the Super Bowl.
I saw that. It was like you have to go all the way back to like
1999.
Yeah,
With
it's nuts.
Kurt Warner was the last guy to win the MVP and the Super Bowl. I'm kind of glad that in a way that Wentz got injured, because if he didn't, he might have won the MVP and then the Eagles would not have won the Super Bowl.
You know, Wentz is in a weird position.
He's not healthy. He might not be ready for week one.
But no matter what happens the rest of his career, he could go on to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in history, right? He could have a 10-year career where he's a Pro Bowler, MVP candidate every single year, and the Eagles make the playoffs every year. But there's no guarantee they're going to win the Super Bowl.
No,
again.
there isn't.
No matter how good you are.
I know. He might like now, by the way, like I feel bad for Eagles fans because the expectations are so high for the next,
So
not
high.
just next year,
So
the
high.
next like 5 years. Like
But you
they
know Eagle
expect,
fans.
look, we just won the Super Bowl with our backup QB. If we get our starting QB back and everyone stays
how
healthy,
great are we gonna
we
be,
should win the
right?
Super Bowl 5 years in a row. That's
But you
what
know
every
how the
Eagles
Eagle-
fan is saying right now.
But you know how Eagles fans are. This the worst, the most passionate, but also the worst fans. The best and the worst.
I know,
right?
I know. How many of them
Because,
are in jail right now?
You know, if they lose week 1 next year, it's going to be fire Doug Peterson.
100%.
Like, I know I'm exaggerating, but like, it's not that far from that.
It's
you
true.
know?
It's true.
You know, and no matter what Nick Foles does, like if he has one bad game, they're going to, a few bad games in a row, and it's going to be like, we don't care anymore, like, so it's like, but just like Wentz, he's in a weird position, with the fans, that the pressure is going to be on him, but in a way, maybe that's going to fuel like the repeat, like, because they're going to have this other motivation that no team kind of ever had before, this quarterback who really wants to get there.
When is the parade?
Thursday.
That's like an eternity from now. Why so late?
I don't know. Matthew wants to go.
Right. You gonna let him go?
Mark messaged me on Facebook saying, "Hey, the parade, are you coming?" And I said, don't joke, Matthew. We were talking about it. I'm not going to that. They're going to turn over more cars. And did you see what's going on in Philadelphia?
Is half the city in jail right now?
Well, I mean, as soon as the game was over, I was like, man, I hope the city's okay. But like as it is with every big celebration like that, it's really just a handful of idiots that ruin it all for the rest of it's a handful of real big idiots that ruin it for like the other thousands and thousands of people that are there for the right reasons, that just want to celebrate, That's how it is, you know. I mean, if most of the people are there having a great time, and then you get a few idiots that are turning over cars, what are you going to do?
Turning over cars.
They did. I saw a video.
I know.
Turned over a car. What else you got? Any more Super Bowl? We're going to put football to rest until next year.
Well, this has nothing to do with football specifically. It applies to any sport. This is what bugs me, actually.
You're kidding me? Boy, are you bugging me, man. I'm gonna nail. Ooh, God. I'm getting bugged now. Whoa, man.
When you have two teams playing one another, there are many ways to say that.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
When there's two teams playing one another?
Or even like two boxers boxing against each other, or two wrestlers wrestling against each other. How do you say it?
So-and-so versus so-and-so?
Right. Say that
Eagles
again.
versus
Say that again. Say what you said again.
Yeah, Eagles versus Patriots,
okay.
Or so-and-so versus so-and-so?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you said it properly.
Yeah, why?
You said like Eagles versus Patriots.
Yeah.
You ever hear people say Eagles versus Patriots?
Oh, verse. Verse is a word it's a made-up word. I'm sure of it. Because verses is like an actual word.
Correct,
right?
It is. But some people say verse.
Verse became a verb. It's the verb of verses. I'm going to verse you.
I don't even know what it means, but it's not a word.
It's not a word.
And like, it's because when you write it, you write VS, right?
It's a word that my kid would say when he was 5, when he was making up words, and how people went with it.
But people on television and radio and the internet say verse. It's Eagles versus Patriots. It bugs the hell out of me.
It's so true. I've heard it a few times, and I was like, I heard it a couple of times on the radio, and I was like, do they know that's not a word? I know, it doesn't make sense, honestly. I'm glad you brought that up. I would have never, the brilliance of Josh, I would have never thought about that, honestly.
So I'm done.
Good. We got to go.
Okay.
So anyways, that's it. We're going to put the Super Bowl to bed, and we're going to celebrate, as Eagles fans, we're going to celebrate all the way till next season.
Congrats on a championship.
Yeah, it's great. I'm so happy they won. So before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of our show wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play. And if you listen through Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Please send us an email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. As you know, we've been doing listener mail every episode as much as we can. You can also send us a tweet at skipandjosh, or you can go on our Facebook page. And as always, skipandjosh.com has all the links to everything I just talked about. I posted 2 cool Eagle videos yesterday.
Nice.
So you can go check out those.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a great day.
The Skip and Josh podcast is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.